I'm just getting our simulcast set up on Facebook and YouTube.
Pistachios? Where's that? Pistachios. Oh, yeah. Look at that. That is weird. What else do we have in the shot that's weird? Nothing. We're good. Waiting on the book. Waiting on the book. Waiting on the book and waiting on the book. Waiting on the book. Waiting on the book. Fuck it. We'll do it live. What if we're like public right now? Fuck it. We'll do it live.
No, we're live.
Let's go. Let's go. Let's go. Let's go. Let's go. Where's the book? Should I just start without the book?
Yeah, and Justin can bring it in once he finds it. I'm having Sandy DM some of the other people. Well, now we got 3.
DMing them to say.
Just to send them the link in case they didn't get the email.
Okay. Oh, are there only a couple people in the room?
There's 3 out of 5.
Okay, that's fine.
You want me to let them in?
Not yet. Let's just. What time is it?
4 or 5.
Give it. Where's Justin? I'd like to just begin with the book. Here. I hear him. I hear him. I hear him. He's here. He's here. He's here. And the highlighters. And the highlighter. There. Okay, good. All right. All right. Okay. All right. Yeah, let's let him in. Let's go. And then tell me when we're live.
We're live.
We are live. We're live. We are live, everybody. We're very much live. My name is Bobby Hundreds. We are streaming live, as I've mentioned, here at the Hundreds home base in Vernon, which is right outside of downtown LA, Vernon, California. You're watching Office Hours every Monday here from the Hundreds TV, tv.thehundreds.com. We've been airing this show throughout the pandemic. It was kind of our way to stay connected with you and also for you to stay connected with each other, which you can do as you watch the Hundreds TV. There's a tab over on the side. You can shop while you're watching. You can chat and you can connect with other people. And one of the best parts about the Hundreds TV is that a lot of people have become friends and have started working together from watching a lot of the programming here. So you're watching Office Hours. This is just an opportunity every Monday, once a week, for me to sit down, for you to ask me questions. And over the last few weeks, we've been slowly bringing other people into the room as well, which I believe we are gonna, let's see if we have a room of people today. We do. All right. And everyone, all right. So we have Andrew, Nicholas, and Dante in the room. Andrew is also here as our producer. And Andrew, is everyone muted right now? Do we have everybody muted? Can we, if not, can you guys mute yourself while I just run? I'm gonna just start to show off. Cool. I am.
Dante and Nicholas haven't connected to audio yet.
Okay.
Once they do, can you guys mute yourselves, and then I'll unmute you if you have a question.
Cool. Can you hear me? We're good. Okay, so thanks for tuning in, everybody. My name is Bobby Hundreds. I'm the co-founder and the Chief Creative Officer of the Hundreds. You're watching The Hundreds TV. This show in particular is called Office Hours. It's a moment for me to just kind of talk openly, candidly about whatever's going on in the world, within the brand, within streetwear. You know, we have a bunch of stuff going on within the Hundreds itself, but there's also greater issues every day here, especially throughout 2020. And so we kind of use this as an opportunity, as an open forum to just bear everything out. And we also have been inviting live guests in as well every week. And so if you want to be invited to be actually in the room with us every Monday, just kind of pay attention to our Twitter through the Hundreds or through Bobby Hundreds. Sometimes through Instagram stories. We'll announce it around early afternoon on Mondays. And we just kind of take people at random. They're more than welcome to join us, and the rest of the world can tune in and watch us from home. I know a lot of you are watching us directly through, or I know a lot of you are watching us through social media platforms, channels like Twitter and through Facebook. We prefer everyone to try to join us over here at The Hundreds TV, tv.thehundreds.com. The reason being is that we have an open chat box, and we just want you guys talking, you guys and girls talking, communicating, connecting through there. And again, you can also support the brand and buy stuff while you're watching as well on The Hundreds TV. Every day with The Hundreds TV, we have different types of programs. Tomorrow is a big one. Greatest Hits is every Tuesday at 4 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. It's hosted by Justin, who literally sits right outside my window here. And Justin takes us through archive the Hundreds product, and we also sell it. It's one of one's archive source materials from just our past, from the last 17 years. And there have been some real treasure pieces that have come up lately, and everything kind of sells out right away. So you got to be on it. But every Tuesday at 4 p.m. Pacific Standard Time right here on the Hundreds TV, tune in for Greatest Hits to watch Justin. He also brings in different guests from the Hundreds world, from staff, from just some OGs who've been around, who have a lot of stories to tell about the product. If you know much about the Hundreds, you know that we are all about people over product. It's been most important for us to tell the stories and the narratives behind things, and really introduce you to people behind a lot of the product and the design, rather than just the products and the designs themselves. And that's something that I've always prided ourselves. We've prided ourselves on being distinct from everybody else that's out there, every other brand, is that this is really a storytelling company. Everything that we make is imbued with a reason and an opinion, and there's a purpose as to why it's come around. And just to give you a little bit of a background on the Hundreds TV, we started this at the beginning of the year. The world was kind of upside down. And I had come off of a year of touring this book, actually, traveling the world since last June, getting rooms of 300 to 500 people together and just to meet, which was really what the takeaway message was of my memoir. This is not a t-shirt. That it's really not about just the clothing itself. It's not really just about streetwear. It's not just about design. It's about the stories of people and bringing people together. And so what better way to do that than to actually host these rooms where we would invite different followers from around the world to convene. And then we threw a food festival in the summer called Family Style. And then COVID happened, and it kind of detached and disconnected us from each other. And so we sought ways in order for us to still keep in touch and still be able to come together in some way, some capacity. And that's where the Hundreds TV was born. And one last time, you're watching Office Hours. I'm Bobby Hundreds. And today we have a room of guests who are here today, and they are going to ask some questions, and I'll be able to just walk through it. If you have a question at home from wherever you're watching, please drop it into the chat box, and we'll pull some of those questions from online as well. And let's get started. I think, Andrew, if you want to call in the first guest, I'm ready to go.
So if you guys could raise your hands, that'll allow me to call on you. We're going to start with Andrew. I'm going to unmute him now. Nice shirt. What do you got for Bobby?
What's up, Andrew?
Hey, Bobby, longtime follower and a first-time caller. So, congratulations on getting the paperback edition of This Is Not a T-shirt. That's a big deal. Did you ever think a memoir of your journey would become a bestseller?
Oh, thanks, Andrew. No, I mean, look, that was a dream of mine, was to, sorry, I'm watching it through here, but I'll talk to you through here.
No
It
worries.
it was a dream of mine to have a bestseller. It wasn't the goal of this book. Really, this was kind of the entire history of the company in one manifesto. And like as many of us are, I felt like I was misunderstood for most of my life and always trying to explain myself or always trying to be heard. Many designers and artists feel this way. That's why we do what we do in order to gain attention around ourselves, in order for people to understand what we're really trying to say. And we feel like we have something valuable to contribute to the rest of the planet. And so we do it through our different mediums. I've been doing it through fashion. I've been doing it through designing t-shirts and clothing. I've been doing it by building a brand for the last 17 years, The Hundreds, this global streetwear brand. But then I just wanted to be very literal and direct with it and tell the story through actual writing. And that's where the impetus behind this book came from. As Andrew was saying, the hardcover dropped a year ago, last June. We just dropped the paperback. You can buy it right now through Amazon or your local bookseller, but if you buy it through The Hundreds, within I think the next week or so, we are going to start dropping these directly through thehundreds.com. If you buy through us, you get these limited edition highlighters for free. I'm going to throw that in for you. But yeah, I mean, just going back to your question, Andrew, like I never really thought it would be possible to have a bestseller. I just wanted our audience, our community to have this book in order for them to totally understand what it was that they were supporting. I believe in that type of transparency for clothing companies and brands that you're supporting and adopting in your life. If you were gonna waste your time acting as almost a walking billboard for a clothing company or brand, you should be as informed as possible as to who you're supporting, what they're about, whether or not you agree with everything that they stand for, but just so that you can basically testify as to what it is that you're wearing. When someone's like, well, clothing companies, that, why are you wearing that? Why do you support it? That you have an actual reason. If you read the book, you will know everything about the Hundreds inside and out, what we stand for, why our mascot is Atom Bomb, why we're called the Hundreds, how we do collaborations, all that. And if you're starting a brand, in particular, not just a streetwear brand or building a business, you're a young entrepreneur, you're an artist, you're a musician trying to get your career off the ground. This is also a good manual or handbook in order to figure out how to do that. Because as I was writing this book, I thought I was starting it off by just talking about a clothing company. And it wasn't until halfway through that I realized the reason why the Hundreds is so special is that it's always been centered on community organizing. And I believe that's the future of all types of successful work in the art space, especially, but in design, fashion, and restaurant, in the restaurant business, and politics, and entertainment, is knowing how to cultivate communities. And we did it kind of unconsciously, I think, over the course of the Hundreds. It just naturally came together because Ben and I are more suited for that type of language. But even if it's not your thing to be social in that sense, this will teach you how to do it. So yeah, to your point, Andrew, I didn't ever expect it. I'm really grateful that it happened, but I'm also just happy, yes, that our audience seems to really be resonating with the book, and they're figuring out how to embark on their own dreams and pursue their own missions by reading this book. So thanks. Next question.
Thanks, Andrew. Bobby, there's a few questions from the audience on social that are on your run of show until anybody else in the room has questions. And if you guys watching in the room have questions, use the Zoom function to raise your hand, or just put your question in the chat and we'll get to you next. Anything good on that sheet?
Yeah, so Alex is asking, is there any possible way to get any of the OG, the Hundreds items like shirts and hats? There's a bunch of different ways. I mean, there are reseller sites out there. There's like the Grail, we're on sites like eBay, obviously, since the very beginning. We also have Greatest Hits, and Greatest Hits, you can follow it on Instagram at the Hundreds Greatest Hits. But we also have a weekly TV show through the Hundreds TV called Greatest Hits, where we are taking archived product that we have amassed through collecting our own clothing and collaborations, shoes, footwear, stuff that we've just worked on. This last week, we curated a Jackson Pollock collaborative Moderna chair, an Eames chair that I think initially put out maybe 5 years ago now, and that's up there. So if you're looking for original vintage, the Hundreds, from back when you first started collecting, maybe it was even before your time and you didn't even know it existed. A lot of people tell us to collaborate with someone. Oh, you should do a collaboration with so-and-so. And we're like, we already did it. We were just talking right now about, we did a collaboration with Garbage Pail Kids, which people don't remember a lot from this generation, but we did that, in the early 2010s. And so we're like, oh, if you're looking for that stuff, try the Hundreds Greatest Hits. It is co-signed by us. We are actually the ones who are sourcing it, authenticating it right here outside of the store. In front, there's a room in our building just dedicated to Greatest Hits. So it's coming directly from us. And we pump it through our channels and through Greatest Hits, the TV show. So if you're into that stuff, which is becoming more and more there's more and more of a demand around that thing, which I can also probably talk to. I just think there's a greater demand for a lot of this nostalgia and retro stuff from not just sneakers, but a lot of brands, because we're in a really unpredictable and volatile time in this world. And when that happens, people tend to revert back to comfort foods. The kinds of foods that you're eating. People aren't trying to be as innovative and as adventurous. They're looking for the familiar, they're predictable, something that is reliable. They're looking for it in brands, which is why our brand has thankfully been doing really well throughout 2020 in terms of really people finding a lot of enjoyment out of it and collecting it. And for our hardcore fans, they've been looking for stuff from the past, from years that seem to be better and more comfortable. And so people are kind of digging into the archives right now. So Greatest Hits is probably the way to go.
We got a question from Dante in the room. He wants to know, Bobby, what your favorite collab of the year has been so far.
What's up, Dante? How's it going? Favorite collab of the year so far. Okay. Anytime someone asks me what my favorite collab is, my default is to say whatever the most recent one was. What did we just drop? Back to the Hundreds? Was that the latest?
Yeah.
I guess I could say Back to the Hundreds was probably my favorite of the year so far, but what else was around that, Duke? We've just had so much.
Kozik recently too, which was crazy.
Kozik.
And
BBC, which is what Andrew's wearing right there, the Black Lives Matter donation shirt, which thank you, Andrew, for donating, and to everyone else who supported and donated. Again, I don't like to say like people bought that shirt, because they didn't. All that money went directly to Black Lives Matter, but really also the Black Mental Health Alliance. And so we were able to raise a significant amount of money for these organizations, and able to help their cause over the next really a long time. So Andrew, you were a part of that, and everyone else who supported you were part of it. And you get a piece of real streetwear history there, the Hundreds and BBC working together. We started at the same time, 2003, and for us to be working together for the first time after all these years on such a milestone shirt like that, that was a big one. I remember the day when we were dealing with a lot of turmoil, a lot of people speaking out for the first time, a lot of you out there joining marches and protesting, organizing, speaking out on your social media. And so we just started our communication with Pharrell and his team and our friend Loic over at BBC. And hey, is there, this would be the moment to do it. And they were on board. And that was big for us, because number one, it's just a big deal to get to work with Pharrell and Billionaire Boys Club, which we've had a lot of respect for their team forever. but also because we knew it would generate a lot of noise, a lot of awareness and attention, and we would also be able to drum up, again, a significant amount of funds in order to donate and throw a lot of weight behind the cause. And so I would say maybe that was probably one of the hits. I'm looking on the wall, like Liz Beecroft was also like a big one for Mental Health Awareness Month. That was the Different Emotions of Atom Bomb. What were you going to say, Andrew?
Kubrick.
Stanley Kubrick to, I mean, those were like real career highlights to hit those 3 movies: Clockwork Orange, The Shining, and Full Metal Jacket. To be able to work with the Kubrick family was also just a really big deal, and something I never thought would be possible. A lot of brands have tried, a lot of brands have approached, and for whatever reason, they selected us to work with Stanley Kubrick's estate. And we were able to work so intricately with the product, and the design all the way down to the lookbook shoot was pretty seamless. So that was just a fun one. We have a lot of really good projects on their way. This Thursday, we don't have a collaboration dropping, but we have our fall collection is going to kick off. And this is probably one of my favorite collections to date from our inline brand. And so look out for that. What's the next big collab coming up, Duke? I feel like I should just write these down somewhere on the wall.
Blondie Beach is coming up. Claire V coming up. You've been teasing some.
Oh, right. Yeah, that's right. So if you go to my Instagram and follow me on Bobby Hundreds, you can see I teased 3 of the next projects that are coming up. One of them is a bag I'm wearing by Claire Vivier. Claire V is another LA brand, started pretty much around the same time as we did, and hit a totally different market, which is, for the most part, a woman in LA who's into handbags. And we just thought that there was a nexus there between our entrepreneurial stories, between me and Claire, and also what we've been able to do within these brands in terms of cultivating, again, communities. And so the bag is there. We have a collaboration. It's a new era with Blondie Beach, which is our friend's good record label, which especially if you're here in LA, you know much about them, but have traveled the world and are world famous for the music. We have it fitted with them. We have this really sick beach towel. And then what else am I wearing in that? Oh, right. We have an artist series of bandanas. We have these 4 bandanas that are about to drop. They're really nice, high quality. And we work with 4 big artists: Anna Wyant, Amir Fala, Mike Giant, who many of our audience are familiar with, and Greg Ito, who is based here in LA. So look out for those.
Thank you, Dante. Next up, we have a question from Omar. Let me unmute Omar. Omar.
What up, Omar? How's it going?
Pretty good. Just doing good. You guys were talking about collabs, and I remember reading on your book talking about there was collabs that like fell. Would you ever try working with them again, or
Oh, that's a good question.
I saw Deftones. I was like, whoa, that was pretty cool.
The Deftones one, right?
Yeah, that sucks that didn't happen.
Omar, where are you from?
I'm from Anaheim, California.
Oh, nice. What do you have on your wall?
Oh, Bruce Lee, Enter the Dragon.
Ah, sweet.
And then just like
what else do you have in there? Can you give us a tour of your room real quick, and then I'll answer?
Oh yeah, dude.
That'll be.
Dude. Give me a sec.
Okay.
I actually just went to a swap meet the other day, and I found this for $5.
What? Oh, that's so funny. I just saw someone wearing that the other day, and I was like, we should bring that one back. I don't even remember what we called that one, but that was a really good atom.
Mm-hmm. And then over here is just like my little section is Bruce Lee, the Warriors, some Pops, Gundam.
Oh, so you don't look as old as I am. Are you in your 30s?
I just turned 24 on Friday.
Yeah, you look really, I was going to say, you look really young. How are you into all this stuff that's old? That's like from your parents' generation almost.
I had older brothers, and that just really stuck. My older brother was really into Bruce Lee, and I just watched all his movies.
Yeah.
Warriors. I picked the video game, so that's how I found the movie. And then, so everything else, just Gundam. I've been into anime the whole time. I'm a big DBZ fan, so I just expanded.
What's your favorite? Is that your favorite anime?
I can say it, but I really like mess around with other ones. I'm really into Bleach. That's pretty freaking cool right now. It's just sucks that it stopped.
Yeah.
One Piece is cool.
Yeah.
Like Hakusho. What else can I say? Oh, like Neon Genesis, Evangelion. They kind of made a comeback this year, last year.
Yep.
Awesome.
Yeah. We have some anime projects that we have lined up that are coming over the next year or so. So you should be excited. It's something that we've always been trying to chip away at, and it's starting to come more into fruition. But even this Blondie beach towel that I was just talking about, which you're about to see, it uses a lot of anime style art, and so you're gonna like trip out on that. I think you're gonna dig it. Yeah. But Omar, to answer your question real quick, yeah, like there have been a lot of failed collabs. You know, I say that for every collaboration you see, there's probably 9 or 10 others that did not make it all the way through. In fact, just this morning, we've been working on a really big video game collaboration. It's a huge game that everyone owns and plays. And it was going to be big. And then just this morning, we got an email that they had to pull out because they thought that someone on their side thought that our graphics were too offensive of our t-shirts. And I couldn't believe it because this game also works with some other brands, but they were like, yeah, you support cannabis and you had a grenade on a shirt, and so we don't feel comfortable working with you guys. And we're like, all right. So again, like nobody will ever know about that. Oh yeah, Justin's gonna bring in the beach towel. No one will ever even know about that, but that's another missed opportunity. Real quick, Justin, who is from Blondie Beach, actually, everybody, and is also the host of Greatest Hits tomorrow, Tuesday at 4 p.m. This is the beach blanket, which is, hold on, can we, oh, let's show the other side. I like the pink side. Yeah, look at that. So it's got these cool like anime style girls. She's wearing like the Hundreds logo, bar logo shirt, but that's tight. But that's just part of the, what else do we have with this project?
The hat.
We have the hat, right. There's a hat and then the towel. So that's coming out. Do you know the date? Jesse, you know the day that is coming out?
August 13th.
August 13th? August 13th. So look out for those. But Omar, to your point, like I would love for a lot of the projects to circle around there. That's the other thing too, is that a lot of collaborations, they fall through and then years later they come back around again. So sometimes people are like, no, it's not gonna work for now, or like something happens because people move around at those companies. Someone gets fired and all of a sudden we lose our connect. And then like someone picks it up like years later. And so it's something else that I think a lot of our customers don't necessarily see nor appreciate, which is that at times we work on collaborations that have strung over the course of, 5 years to 10 years to 15 years. There was a project with Epitaph Records we did a couple years ago that took over 11 years. We did Who Framed Roger Rabbit with Disney, and that took maybe like 12 or 13 years in some, just constant negotiations. So everyone sees the collabs that we drop at any given time, but in the background, humming constantly, we have emails and phone calls and us just negotiating projects that people won't see for like 3 years, 4 years, 10 years, but we never stop working on them. So yeah, that's a good question, Omar. Yeah.
I thought it was interesting too when you were talking about Back to the Future, how different the first collab and second collab were just based off the different team at Universal.
Yeah, so we just dropped this Back to the Future collaboration. If any of you were able to get this jacket, is sold out in I think 3 minutes. It was like a very popular piece. But it was our second time collaborating with them. We called it Back to the Hundreds too. The first time was in 2015 for the film's 30th anniversary. And we worked with a completely different team at Universal, who Universal Studios is in charge of Back to the Future. And the people that we were working with at that time, they really did not quite understand the vision behind this collab, what we were trying to pull off. And so even though I was really happy to work with Back to the Future in 2015, and some of you even may remember or have gotten some of that stuff back then, it wasn't exactly what I wanted to get out of the project. I mean, just like a really good example, we weren't allowed to use Michael J. Fox's character Marty McFly or Doc Brown on a shirt back then. And so this time around, they were like, yes, you have access to using them on a shirt. And so we put that into the line. Most people wouldn't have noticed that. I don't even think anyone even said back then, like, that's weird that Marty and Doc are not on any of the clothing. But there were these little things back then that weren't completely right about that project. This time around, we worked with a new team. Universal like fully understood the vision. They empathized with what we were trying to do. And then, you know, we put together a collection that everyone was super happy and stoked with, except for the fact that a lot of it was hard to produce or get made within the time of COVID production. You know, as many of you know, if you work in clothing or work in any type of production, it's been insanely complicated since February, even starting in January, because COVID hit Asia first. And so if you do manufacturing over there, it was super gnarly. And so we got delayed with a lot of pieces, a lot of things that were happening within this Back to the Future collection. And so we split it up, and there is going to be Back to the Future Back to the Hundreds Part 3, which is coming out later this year with some of the stuff that we didn't get done in time for this release, but it's going to make it for the next one. If you missed out on stuff from Back to the Hundreds 2, it may pop up again. Hint, hint, if I'm referring to this jacket behind my chair, it may pop up again in time for Back to the Hundreds 3. So I think that's the first time I've said that anywhere, but yeah, that's just a bit of news for you. And we're going to add a bunch more items to it. Yes, there will be skateboards, and there will be skateboards that you're going to love. So it's all part of that. But yeah.
Bobby, we had a quick question from Twitter, somebody watching on Periscope. When you were talking about anime, what is your favorite anime?
Okay, so I grew up watching Dragon Ball, DBZ. Like, Dragon Ball was, for my generation, the first kind of transitional anime that kind of the first crossover into American pop culture, because I'm older than everyone in this room, right? I'm like twice your guys' age. And it wasn't that big here. Anime, and especially manga, was just like not a thing. But in my household, we were familiar with a lot of that just because we're Asian. And so we grew up with a lot of these comics. You know, my brother was like a Ranma fiend, and he read like every Ranma book. And so we had a lot of that lying around. I was Dragon Ball because I like to draw those characters. So I think by default, I would say Dragon Ball. But yeah, I'm also a fan of One Piece as well. And, you know, hopefully there's something there between the hundreds in the future.
If you guys go on the Hundreds blog and search anime, one of our writers, Sandy, she also manages all our social media and a lot of our digital. She's done a few articles. She ranked the best anime collabs in streetwear. She also did a great story about like the 5 biggest lessons you can learn from anime. I highly recommend both of those. Go check those out. And then Bobby, your next question, we're going back to Andrew.
Oh, Andrew, we're back. Actually, Andrew, I didn't get to ask you any questions, but where are you from and what is on your wall?
I am from a little town called American Canyon. It's like right outside of Vallejo, California.
Oh,
and
nice.
on my wall, I have a few comics, LPs, Blue in Exile, Wu-Tang,
Oh, nice.
My Chemical Romance, Linkin Park, and
Is there
Pacquiao in the middle.
See Wu-Tang, right? And then Manny Pacquiao. And you have X-Force?
Yeah.
Yeah.
X-Force, Justice League.
Nice. Are you a big LP fan?
Yeah, collect a lot. And I have actually.
Oh, nice. Oh, hey, Desperado. So you've been down with us for a while, or did you find that recently?
I've been down with the Hundreds since like 2009.
Oh, wow.
So
nice. Oh, so and then also, since you're from up there, did you go to the store, the 100 San Francisco?
Yeah, made a few friends there.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Yes. Andrew?
The question I have is, you put your phone number on the internet earlier this year, and has that allowed you to connect better with your community and kind of streamline and get ideas off future products? And
Yeah. So what Andrew's talking about is you can text me. It comes directly to my phone, 323-310-2844. Especially, it's really for if you're in North America. It works in the States, parts of Canada, and not really internationally. So just know that. But yeah, every time you text me, it comes to my personal phone, which is right here. And I have like 100 messages from just today that I haven't answered yet. But, like Alice is, talking to me. I wished her a happy birthday because it was her birthday the other day. She said, thank you. And then I can just type back. So 323-310-2844. The reason why I did that is kind of the same thing, what I'm doing through the Hundreds TV. I just wanted to stay better connected with everybody. I'm looking for ways in order for us to stay in touch. And Andrew's asking if I've been able to be inspired in terms of design by keeping up with a lot of these texts. Not directly in the sense of someone saying like, oh, you should make this into a t-shirt or you should make this type of jacket. Not so much that, but just in terms of me being on the same wavelength emotionally with our audience and our following at any point in time. So the reason why I'm scrubbing through all those texts and trying to have these conversations is just so I'm in your mind space. And I know it sounds kind of crazy. It's also the same reason why I spend so much time on Twitter, is that I just like being in the zeitgeist. I like knowing where basically I want to be able to read the room. I want to know what is on everyone's minds. If you kind of pay attention, for the most part, we are so tied together as a species that if we're agitated, we're all kind of agitated together. Or if our mind is thinking this way, Twitter is a great place to kind of sit there and vibe off of everybody. You're literally reading people's thoughts. You're literally inside of people's minds. And so this texting platform that I have allows me to do that specifically with our community. I just get to have really personal one-on-one conversations with everyone, seeing what is on their mind, what they're feeling, what they're happy about, sad about, what they're excited about. And I take all that information and it informs a lot of my decision-making as far as what we're doing with this brand, what we want to put out there, how we want to design things, if we're feeling a certain kind of way. But that's just, it helps me with a better emotional read across our audience. And so hopefully to you, to like the end user, the customer, you're watching and seeing a lot of the stuff that we're putting out there and a lot of things that we're doing, and it feels very intuitive. It feels very organic and personal, and you're looking at it being like, man, I feel like the Hundreds really gets me, or like that's a brand that really resonates with me. That isn't necessarily by accident. A lot of it is by design. It is intentional. I am trying to meet you halfway. I am trying to basically absorb whatever it is that you're going, what's happening in your life and what you're going through, and trying to empathize with it, and then try to meet you with something that can hopefully alleviate any type of hardship or stress in your life, or bring you excitement or enjoyment. Like Back to the Future right now is a really big movie. If you've been noticing, it's on Netflix. It's 1, 2, 3 are all up there. Why? Again, it's a great nostalgic property in entertainment, and people are feeling like they need some type of comfort food when it comes to what they watch right now. And so Back to the Future has been doing really well. Back to the Hundreds Part 2, this collaboration we just did, also feels really good to a lot of people because it feels familiar. It's very much the Hundreds. It's tied to a movie that they know very well. It's not something new that's come out of left field. And they know how much I care about it. And if people have been with the brand long enough, and even if they've just found out about the Hundreds yesterday, they know by reading or seeing the way that I'm talking about this movie that I care so much about it. And so all those elements go together into providing a collaboration to our audience where they say, man, everything about this feels good. It feels on brand. It's organic. It's logical, reasonable, makes a lot of sense.
Hold on, Bobby, we lost your audio.
Okay. At what point? Just now. Should I throw it to here?
Oh, there we go.
I'm back.
Maybe just repeat the last 15
you're like, can you repeat the last 20 minutes of what you're saying? Can you answer Andrew's questions all over again? I actually don't really remember what I was saying, but I was just saying, like, look, there's a reason why Back to the Hundreds feels good, and it's not accidental by any means. It's because we're kind of listening. We're just listening to how people are feeling right now. We're listening to what people want and expect of our brand. And if they've been with us for a very long time, they know how excited I am about that movie. They know how excited they are about vintage nostalgia properties. And all that kind of goes into bringing you a collaboration that makes a lot of sense and feels natural. So, Kevin, do you have a question for us today? You don't have to have a question.
Kevin,
yeah, I do. What up, Bobby? My name is Kevin. Hey, everybody. One of the questions that I have is on social media. Not too long ago, you mentioned that the Hundreds was prepared for an e-commerce, more of an online shop persona. What were some of the steps that you invested to get you to that in the first place? Because obviously on social media, I think you're one of the more active brands. And are we still waiting for something more to come with that type of experience?
Yeah, good question, Kevin. I think a lot of brands are asking themselves this question right now. A lot of companies, it's because we're in this in really critical time of flux in terms of commerce. As many of you, especially if you're here in the States, retail, I'm getting kind of deep, but it'll help contextualize my eventual answer here. But retail here in the States never really recovered from the recession that we had in 2008. So before that, stores were just doing fine. You know, even though e-com and internet business was a thing, online shopping was a thing, it really wasn't eating into a lot of physical retail. And with the recession hit in 2008 through for a few years. And after that, even though retail somewhat bounced back, it never got back to where it was before 2008. Then COVID, a pandemic, just sweeps through the country and rest of the world. And now we've been in terms of retail speaking wise, like they've been offline for, the better half of the year now. And so without any other means to reach your customers outside of going digital or going direct online, most retailers, wholesalers, they have had to figure out a way to pick up their online business and move 100% of it there. We, with the Hundreds, have always kind of been an internet brand. We were an anomaly in the streetwear world when we started in 2003 because we were fixed and centralized around thehundreds.com, which was my blog every day, but also we were slowly selling e-com. And we didn't have Shopify back then. We didn't have these fancy shopping experiences online. It was really costly to do something like that. And so, I strung something together through just some basic HTML code, PayPal account, and we were shipping it out through my bedroom and then our eventual store. But that was, kind of opposed to a lot of the ethos of what streetwear was in the early 2000s. Even when I try to explain this to my children, they don't really get it. But the internet was for nerds back then. Like anything tech involved was for nerds. It wasn't cool. It wasn't subversive. It wasn't a subculture to go online. And so if you had a blog, if you were spending any time like checking your email, it was just like, yo, you're just not tight. And so streetwear brands, especially just by being nature of being, invented and run by cool guys, it was all about only physical retail, brick and mortar stores, but do not sell online, don't have a website, don't have a .com. When the Hundreds started in 2003, the first thing that we started the launch with was thehundreds.com, blasting that everywhere, posting it up, me writing a blog, telling people to buy it from us directly online. And no one got it. Supreme didn't have an online shop. Like Supreme was just like, we would never do that. All these brands were saying we wouldn't do that. The Hundreds was doing it. And then eventually the rest of the world figured, got up to speed. And now almost 20 years later, it'd be weird if you weren't online. It'd be weird if you didn't have a social media account. And the same thing happened with social networks. When Friendster, then MySpace to Twitter to Instagram, Twitter to Instagram, Instagram to everything else. Every time one of these platforms started up, we were the first to jump on it, first to tweak and figure it out. And the rest of the brands were like, yo, that's whack, it's corny, it's just not my thing. And kind of the way that people talk about TikTok now, they're just like, oh, it's whack, it's corny, it's like not my thing. And then in like 5 years, probably everyone will just use it in their own way and it'll make sense. But for we were always kind of on the forefront of a lot of that discussion. So having said all that, that's why here in this pandemic and this time of COVID, we've actually adjusted and transitioned pretty seamlessly. You know, and in the beginning of the year, we were pretty much still a omni-channel business. That means we sold directly online through thehundreds.com, through our app. We have an app if you don't know. But we were also selling to stores around the world. We were selling to our own store on Fairfax and Rosewood, but we also sold to actual streetwear shops, boutiques, fashion retailers around the world. And that business has, for the most part, disappeared, right? Like selling to stores, because stores just aren't open. And so we had to shove everything, you know, online as quickly as possible and figure out how to reach people online through the Hundreds TV, through me texting people. And so our audience, our customer was totally comfortable with that jump. You know, if people couldn't go to their local store to find the Hundreds and they wanted to pick something up, they knew to go to thehundreds.com. A lot of brands, a lot of clothing companies out there, not just in streetwear, don't necessarily have that. And so that just brings it full circle to talking about this again. The reason why we were able to make that jump and do it so seamlessly is because we do have this community that is very much engaged and connected with us. They're very much on the same page with us. There's full transparency with everything that we're doing. And so when we said, hey, this collection here, it's not gonna be sold there, it's gonna be sold over here, people were like, got it. I'm just gonna go over there and buy it now and I'll support you directly. And so that's where, you know, like if you're building a brand or a company or trying to do anything in life, if you have this core following that is down to support you, they'll follow you through thick and thin. And, you know, again, like a huge thank you to everyone, you know, all you guys in the room as well. Like you were able to continue supporting us. So our brand was able to survive. And, you know, we've been able to make that transition into this weird COVID world where we are now watching a lot of other brands, some friends, a lot of types of companies, a lot of restaurants, like a lot of other businesses having a lot of trouble adjusting and adapting to this new environment. It hasn't been easy for us, but what has been easy is our community has supported us all the way through. So yeah, I don't know if that answered your question, Kevin, but yeah, that's what it is.
Yeah, absolutely. I think some context on that. I was just watching the Greatest Hits show with my brother, and we both said it reminded us of the old QVC episodes. And my brother, obviously, getting the streetwear culture from him, he's saying how that might be kind of a transition into how like coveted pieces now in the future might be easier to get for people that don't have necessarily the means that some other people are using to get their hands on whatever particular island. So I thought that's pretty cool.
Yeah. And even outside of Greatest Hits, I'm doing it myself through Dropping In, which is a show that we do on Thursday. So every time we do a drop, I walk you through it. We just did it for Back to the Hundreds, and that episode is still up. So for like, I think 20, 30 minutes, I just walk everyone through the collection. I explain all the design behind it. It's very QVC, Home Shopping Network style. You know, those channels have been doing it for decades, and streetwear is finally picking up on it. And like the Hundreds, we're like finally getting it. But I'm like, of course that makes sense. Of course, if you're going to support a brand, why wouldn't you want to get it directly from the people who made it, hear it from them as to why it's been made, the way it's been made? You know, so in a lot of ways, like COVID helped us to see a lot of that stuff and see how technology could facilitate a lot of that communication. And so my goal really, or one of the many goals that we have for this brand, is that I want everyone who wears it, you know, everyone who's buying and supporting the Hundreds, I want them to just know what we're about. You know, I'm all about that. I'm all about like knowing where my food comes from, like where these pants came from, the story behind it, why they're designed that way. Like I need to know everything if I'm going to be out there, again, advertising this company or telling someone to buy this. Oh, this is a really nice jacket, buy it. You know, like I want to be able to, I want to know who it is I'm supporting, why it is that they do what they do. Just because I'm a curious person, but also I want to feel connected to the product. I don't want to feel like I'm just a mannequin for someone's business or someone's company. Like I'm not here to help you sell your product. I'm here to like support someone that I really feel like is doing good work out there. And I want to see more of their art on the world. And so the book is where that comes into play. TV is where that comes into play. Kevin, you know, you guys, Andrew, Omar, Dante, you coming in the room and like asking me directly, like, how is this made? Why is this made? Why did you do it that way? Like, all that goes into you getting a fuller, clearer picture of what the hundreds is. And so that when you're out there and you see it in the world, you're like, I met that dude. I know people from that company. I know why they designed it the way they did. You're fully versed in whatever, you know, what the 100 stands for. And like, that to me is a complete brand experience, you know, like you should know who it is that you support. You should know why it is, who you're buying from, where your money's going. You should always know that. And I'm all about that, staying informed. And I'm trying to help do that for you, make it as easy for you as possible to know. And I'm also very much aware that people may read the book, may listen to me talking, going like, yo, like, that's just not for me. Or they might get to know, like, some, you know, a lot of people find out my politics. None of that's hidden. It's out there. Just a lot of my views on society, on culture. And they're like, oh, I'm just like not down with that guy and his personality or his politics or whatever it is. That's totally fine as well. Like I want people, I don't want someone to be wearing us and then go like, oh, I didn't know he felt this way. It's like, please know what we stand for, just so we're all on the same page. But yeah. Duke, how are we doing? Should I answer one more question from online?
Well, I was going to say, yeah, if you want to answer one more from online, and then we have one more in the room. Omar had a second one. I just wanted to give a quick shout out to everyone watching in the Hundreds TV. Shout out Fantastic, RDG, Sandy's in there, and a special to Daniel. Daniel is always in the Hundreds TV chat for like every single one of our shows. He's actually bought something every single week from Greatest Hits, and he said it's getting harder and harder to tell his wife that he needs a shirt from Greatest Hits. Daniel, if you're at the end of your rope for T-shirts on Greatest Hits, there's a really nice chair available on there right now.
Daniel, you are up to bat. The pressure's on. Are you a real fan, Daniel? I want you to take a good hard look at that chair. I have one of those chairs right here. And in fact, it's still in there, huh, Duke? That chair?
I think that's the last thing available from Greatest Hits last week.
This is my personal Jackson Pollock Modernica chair. But this is the same one, right? This is what we got up there?
Yeah, we have a brand new in the box one.
This chair, when we dropped this, it was in museum gift shops around the world were asking to carry it. It's like legitimately an art piece. So
shout out to Daniel, big supporter of Greatest Hits. And then we're going to take
Daniel, be sitting right here. Right there, Daniel. There you go.
One more question, and then we're going to wrap up this week's episode of Office Hours. So we're going to go back to Omar.
There you are, Daniel. All right, Omar.
I just finished your book, and I just wanted to ask if there's any other book that you would recommend. I want to hear.
Yeah, Omar, good question. So if you're going to hear, Omar was asking if there's any other books that I recommend. I have a book club, for one, called Death Sentences. You can follow it on Instagram. That's all it is, really. Everyone's like, oh, you have a book club? You can do. I'm like, no, it's just really an Instagram. I talk about books that I'm reading. Instagram.com/Death Sentences Reading Club. Outside of Death Sentences, I think a lot of people are asking, they're like, I like the book. I need another type of business memoir or another type of business book. I don't read business books. And this is kind of a funny thing. A lot of people that I know that have done very well for themselves in the business world, they actually don't read business books. I'm not saying I'm not one of those people that's done well in the business world. I'm just saying, like, I don't have a lot of business literature lying around. The business memoirs that I've read that I have enjoyed, there is Phil Knight's book from Nike. It's called Shoe Dog. It's very much along the lines of my book. It's not just about Nike. In fact, he doesn't start talking about Nike till pretty much the end of the book. It's really about his personal life and what he's gone through in terms of his career. Him working on a brand called Onitsuka Tiger, which, was like a Japanese brand, and Blue Ribbon Sports and all this stuff. And so it's pre-Nike stuff, but it's just a really well-written story. I am writing another book right now. It's fiction. And if you are listening to what I'm saying about like I don't really like reading business books, it's because I don't really read a lot of nonfiction. I read a lot of fiction, and so Death Sentences is a good place to look if you want to like find a lot of fiction stuff I'm reading. I've been reading a lot of young adult in that genre of things, and so you know, The Outsiders by S.E. Hinton, Perks of Being a Wallflower, which is also a really good movie, but just a phenomenal book. My friend Mary Choi also writes really good young adult books. They're kind of like teen romance novel stuff, which is, it might be out of your wheelhouse. Right now, I have a really cool like science fiction book that I picked for the month for Death Sentences, but they're all there. I read kind of everything, so yeah. Should we do one more online book before we let everyone go?
Yeah, let's do it.
Online question, sorry. Yeah. I don't know if there's one that's come in since, or should I just take one from the?
We got one on the Hundreds TV from Fantastic Four. He said, "Is the next Puma drop still on track that you teased?"
It is. It is still on track. I think I have a pair right here actually. So these shoes, along with we have 4 different pairs of shoes that are dropping as for this next The Hundreds Puma collaboration. With clothes that go with it all. And the theme of this collection is rooted around sustainability, which is a conversation that's only getting louder in fashion and any type of production, really, which is just making sure that we're not being as wasteful and being more environmentally conscious in the stuff that we make in this world. And so a lot of recycled materials throughout this collection, a lot of sustainable stuff. I think that collection is dropping. Duke, do you have a better idea? I know it's dropping in the next couple months, I would say. Is it September?
It is September.
Something like that. I'm horrible with dates and with it, one thing with me on dates, times, like names. I don't know. I'm always working on stuff that's like 2-3 years out. And so when people are like, "What dropped this week?" I'm like, I don't know. I'm not even paying attention. So Puma, I think, is coming out like at some point early in the fall. And again, this second half of the year for the Hundreds, the second part of 2020, is loaded with way more collaborations and projects than the first half. And so, and they're kind of noisier too, in terms of the demand is going to be really high around a lot of these things, just a heads up. And so we're really excited for it for the next half of the year. You know, we're starting off with the few that I mentioned with Claire Vivier. We're making bags and, you know, Blondie Beach. We made a towel in the new era, and we have this artist series. But we're also revving up to some really, really loud collabs that are dropping through Christmas. So get excited, because we're really excited. I'm going to answer a question from Jules here. Jules asks, "What's your favorite brand in streetwear?" I get asked that a lot. Gosh, you know, like there were years that I would have said Undercover. I still love Undercover, Bounty Hunter. So these are kind of Japanese brands that were more from like my era, my generation. I'm really inspired by a lot of the younger Black-owned brands right now, because I think that they've had so much to say for the longest time, and they're finally being afforded the platform and the voice to like be heard in a really magnified and amplified way. And so, you know, one of the guys here, Keem, has a brand called Infantry that has just dropped a shirt that says Menace to America. It looks like the Menace to Society logo. It's doing really well. Our friend Corey, who dropped in at some point on office hours, has a brand called Circulate here in LA that has just been doing some really awesome graphics. Heem, Bricks and Wood. These are all some really great brands to check out. Babylon, also another Black-owned. Garrett Stevenson with his partner Lee Spielman has a really, really strong brand. So I don't know. I kind of jump around, you know, for the most part. I stick to the Hundreds. It's just like, look, at the end of the day, it's my favorite brand. I get to make everything that I want. It's everything that I want to say and be seen. And so it's one of the cool parts of having a clothing company is that you get to just make like clothes that would fit you and look good on you. And so that's where I would probably end this by saying the Hundreds is my favorite brand. Cool. Thanks to everyone who watched today and for tapping in. Andrew, Omar, Dante, Kevin, for joining us live. You've been watching Office Hours on the Hundreds TV, tv.thehundreds.com. Join me every Monday, 4 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. I report live here from the Hundreds home base in Los Angeles. If you want to join the room and be like one of these lucky dudes, you can just kind of pay attention to our Twitter and Instagram stories leading up to the day of throughout Monday. So, and then we'll just invite you through a DM to come in. But yeah, tomorrow we have Greatest Hits at 4 p.m. same time here on the Hundreds TV, and stick around. We have programming throughout the week. Peace, guys. Thanks for watching and for participating.